All right. What is up, everybody? This is Maxjyork coming in with another movie review. I was sick these last couple of days and uh, just scrolling through uh, Amazon Prime, I came across this movie, Ready to Rumble. This was one of the movies I actually grew up watching. And then when I watched, and then like I saw it, I was like, I watched this. I mean, generally speaking, I'll give it a like before I dive deep into this movie, before I rip a new one onto this movie. This movie is I'll give it a rating of like just 5 out of 10. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was just I mean it was just it's just there. It's just there, and then like it's a pretty forgettable movie for the most part. It seemed like the whole a whole lot was one of the things. The only reason, and probably like and really the only reason I ever watched this growing up was because of wrestling. This movie did have some wrestlers that I grew up with, uh, but uh, at the time it wasn't. This is a WCW movie. For those who remembers what WCW is, it's not WWF. Even though it does have Goldberg and Sting and all them who did transition to WWE later on, it does have Rey Mysterio, but it was just like it was just during the time when they were in WCW. WCW was its own thing, and it's whatever. Um, but I recognized these wrestlers, and they were, and me and my brother especially, like he loved this movie. It was something that he always wanted to watch because he loves wrestling, and to him this is like the funniest movie there is, and to me it's like I mean, it's fine. It's okay. Is is something, you know, is something to dive a little bit more deep into this, like this movie, it's about these two friends who enjoys wrestling, their favorite wrestler, Jimmy King, who's not a real wrestler. They just created this new character and put him into the movie. He was a champion and everything, but he was a scumbag, and then the organization turned on him, and then these two friends, they found him, and they're trying to bring him back into the glory days. And then at the end, it's like a big old steel cage match, and then Jimmy King wins, all happily ever after. One of the things that this movie suffers from is the and then storytelling. For those of you, just to little bit of context, what I mean by like the and then is because Matt Stone and Trey Parker, when they write, they do this thing where it's like uh when they're writing out a story, it's like, oh, it's like it's like the creators of South Park, they say it's like, oh, the boys is doing this, and then this happens, and so therefore this happens, but this happened. Yeah, it's just that sort of storytelling where well, that's the one thing they go to, and they did say that like thing with writers, and so many movies tend to be boring, is when it's just and then and then and then and then and then, and that's what this movie is. You got two friends who really enjoys wrestling, goes to a wrestling event, they witness their favorite wrestler get turned around, and then they decide to go and find him, bring him back, make him champion again, and then they find a coach and he teaches them, and then the coach gets hurt, and then I just over and over and over, and then that's what I mean. It's like and then. So nothing really happens because of that. Nothing really happens in this movie. you know it's a whole lot is thrown at you, but it's like it just flows by. You don't even recognize it. And which, I mean, watching this movie is primarily a comedy, and It's supposed to be one of those, like goofy movie comedies back in the heyday. It'll be all fine and dandy if the jokes were good, if it was funny. It's not. It's not. We all have friends to where, like, you can quote a movie and everything. This movie just doesn't have it. I'm pretty sure that all my friends have seen this movie, and yet they can't think of like any sort of quotes that's happening in this movie. They probably like the only thing I remember was like the notable wrestlers being in it. That's probably it. And that's the one, and that is like a huge thing about this movie. It's like I said, it's like nothing happens. It's like running on a treadmill. You're moving. I mean, your body's moving, but you're not going anywhere. Nothing's happening. And another thing about this movie is that like everything is just so, it just seems, because like they present a lot in the beginning to where, like, you find out what their motivation is. Like, for instance, like one of the characters, was one of the friends, one of the main leads. Like, he has a dad who's a police officer, and a police officer and his dad, is going to, and his dad is like, oh, it's like being a police officer is a family business. Your mom's doing it, your sister's doing it, it's your turn. They do that in the first 15 minutes of the movie. They say that. And then it doesn't get brought up until it's necessary. It's not like, throughout the whole movie, like, he's it's not like it's like throughout the whole movie, like I guess like his he calls his dad or something, and his dad is like, you coming back, or his dad is chasing him down or something like that. It's like it does not happen throughout the movie. It's just they say it, and then towards the end of the movie, oh, it's a potential conflict. And what's funny enough too is like it was just so out of nowhere. I forgot that that was even like a story plot point until towards the end when they go back to the barn, when they go to a barn to do some more training. His dad just pulls up, and to tell you the truth, I don't even think that it was the same freaking town that the dad was in. I i i forgot that that was the whole thing. And then you got this dude who was just hell bent on helping out this wrestler that he so loves. Like, he was just so quick to just hop into the vehicle. And when they were trying to get him again before they leave, just like, oh, come on. He's like, no, I gotta do this. I think it's stupid now. When just 5 minutes ago, like, he was just uh, when 5 minutes ago, like, he was just ecstatic to be with his favorite wrestler. Um it's just, now, I mean, you could forgive a movie like this if it was funny. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't even think that there was even an attempt to be funny. This is there's just it was just throughout the whole movies, like when they try to do some sort of comedy, it was just like it I hardly even notice it. And then when I do notice it, I was like, it's not really that funny. And you would think, like, with the wrestling movie, they'll have moments too where, like, they're going, there's like oh, just the slapstick type of nature comedy. You think they'll have that on there? It's not a lot. For the most part, it's for the most part, it's like, I guess two dedicated scenes to where, like, they are actually wrestling in the ring and everything, but there's no comedic moments into it. There was some at the end where, like, it was just where, like, it was, kind of funny. Like, I'm like, it didn't make me chuckle or anything. It just made me breathe through my nose a lot harder. But that was about it. And that what so like my final thoughts on this movie is just overall like it's is something that I don't think that this new generation of people can actually enjoy, because the only reason I think this movie is more for the people who grew up with it. But even then, it's like I think in order for somebody to watch this movie, is if like like they're folding clothes or they're cleaning a room or something. It's just mainly background noise, and that's mainly what this movie is. It's just background noise. It's nothing. It's very and there's like a whole lot of nothing moves, nothing goes. They're throwing a whole lot at you, but it doesn't stick. You know, it just seemed like really long commercial to watch WCW, which we all know doesn't exist no more. They went bankrupt after. And if I remember correctly, I think this movie was supposed to be like a thing for where was like at the time WCW and WWE was competing against each other, and I think WCW made this movie because like they wanted to be more mainstream with the fans and stuff to gain an edge against WWE. I think so. Don't quote me on it. I could be wrong. Cause again, it just felt like a one long commercial for me to watch WCW. Um, and but I will say those like WWE like years later they had their own film studios, and they were like coming out. I remember one's like John Cena. So I think it was called 12 Rounds or something, or The Marine. And he made an action. It was like he made movies, and I know there's more, which I probably might just start watching them and just see. Which that's probably like the next thing I'm gonna do, like the whole WWE Studios library. I remember the Marine. The Marine was actually like the movie I had. I also do remember seeing No Evil that had Kane in it. That might be the next video. I don't know yet. I gotta look into it. But all in all, back to this movie. I mean, if you grew up in this movie, then fine, go ahead. But for the new generation out there, I would not recommend this movie. Unless you want to see it. Well, unless like you're very curious to see Goldberg. And or hold on, I will say this. If since I will say this, Rey Mysterio, he's in there with his mask off. If you can point it out, that's probably that would be fun to see. It's for a brief moment too. I think that's like I think that's the I think that's like the only thing. Um, but that's about does it. Let me know what other movies I should watch. Let me know any other uh as like in the comments. Let me know what else to watch. If you have seen this movie, what did you think of it? Did you grow up with this movie? You remember WCW? Remember Diamond Dallas Page? Uh but that's really about it. All right. I'll see you on the next one. Later.